Hey guys, JLums here. We are talking about the new Battlefield that has been announced from EA. Exclusive interview with Vince Zampella. He confirms the next Battlefield will use modern settings, and first concept art was actually revealed, as you can see in the picture here. We will get into the article. Basically, ahead of the Investor Day on September 17th, EA did reveal fresh details on its untitled Battlefield game alongside its first officially concept art, which IGN can exclusively reveal for the first time. IGN also can confirm that Battlefield will be returning to a modern setting after stints in World War I, World War II, and the near future. While obviously EA is going to be cagey about the specifics when it comes to the concept art, including declining to name the city where it's set, looks like Italy, France, or somewhere in Europe, it does include details that should stand out to longtime fans of the series. Among other things, it appears to suggest that ship-to-ship and helicopter combat will be part of the new game, and it will feature natural disasters like wildfires. Its greatest color scheme is meant to kind of look like Battlefield 4, and that's what kind of their goal is, to look like Battlefield 3/4. I guess more like 4, but that's kind of exciting because that's when it was really good and people really loved Battlefield. It was 3 and 4, which remains one of the most popular games in the series despite being released almost 10 years ago. What Vince is saying here is that they're trying to go back to the basics, as you can see here. Okay. There is one thing that I don't really per se like, and the conversation of what they're saying here. Basically, they're saying that the 128 player maps proved to be unpopular with fans who preferred a more focused experience. Battlefield 2042 eventually went back to supporting 64 players per map, and the next Battlefield plans to stick to that approach. Now, I am not against having a semi more compressed fight, but the thing is, and I was talking to one of my friends about this, is that then it makes it a little too you kind of know what's going to happen, right? It's kind of the randomness won't be there. The days of where you're just running across a map and you're trying to run across a tree line and you don't know where the enemy could be, those days are gone, because now you can see that everything's going to be focused so much that you know where everything's going to be, and that takes out the whole fun of like the randomness that could happen in the game. So now, not saying that there's no place for 64 player maps, but I think there's a place for both. I think if they're going to make multiple maps, which they're probably going to do in the game, because that's what they do with all games, they should have a little bit of this and then a little bit of that, so people can pick the big, large scale 128 player maps when they feel like playing the kind of game, and then they can also play this more compressed 64 player maps. I think they should have both, not just support 64 player maps. I think for that, it's probably a choice of just making it a little bit easier for them to control and to develop, maybe. But I think, personally, I think there's still, a need, or there's still a good want for 128 player maps. That's just what I kind of feel. Now, there's nothing wrong with like dense environments where there's lots of buildings and stuff like what they're saying here. He says, I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces. Some of them are really good. Agreed. I don't disagree with that, but I still think that there should be a place for 128 player maps, just because the large scale is fun. The randomness, right? Being able to go on the far edge and just surprise someone from the left flank or whatever the case may be. That's nice. Rather than getting two groups in a choke point and just constantly just throwing bullets at each other. Locker and all that was really fun, of course. Metro, really fun, of course, but then it gets a little tiring after time, right? So you get the dense excitement of that fight, but then it kind of gets a little blah after, because people are just going to spam grenades all day long down a hall. You know what I'm talking about if you played Battlefield. Road ahead, basically, obviously they're talking about Call of Duty, how Call of Duty in the last years they're pumping out games, and overall they've been quite popular, and they've been winning the fight between who's better, Battlefield or Call of Duty. I want Battlefield to go back to the greatness that it was, because I love Battlefield personally. I've been a supporter, and I still am. Even for Battlefield 2042, when it wasn't doing so great, I was very strong supporting that game, and I felt it was still fun. Part of my reasoning why I like Battlefield 2042 is because I was tired of having all the World War I and II type of guns and technology. I wanted something more closer today. I'm not asking for future. I'm glad to deal with just certain guns that are available today in real life. But even the slight future is not that bad because it's not that far off, right? They think they're in a good place, and that's pretty much it. Those are kind of my thoughts. I again, like I said, I'm not sure if it's a great idea to totally remove the 128 player maps, but I can understand why they're choosing that because it does make some sense. But I mean, why not just design the larger scale maps to be better? That's all. Like just have better, like what they did with Battlefield 2042. If you've played the games and how the map changes they've done to kind of add more cover, so people feel like less running around and then just getting shot at from random areas. I mean that's all. That's all they had to do is just add, clever areas to put cover, so then you don't get shot at every bloody second, right? Um, yeah, so I mean, like overall, this is very exciting news. He wants to return to basics. That's a bold statement. I hope they do. If they return to the glory of Battlefield 3 and 4 with just new technologies and graphics, I will be happier than a clown. But it's easier to say than to do. One thing that they didn't mention that I'd like to see is maybe a campaign mode. Most of these companies are not opting to do campaign modes anymore, so understood. But I think that there's still a need, or I think there's still a want for campaign mode. So, anyways, those are just a few of my ideas and thoughts on this news on Battlefield, and hope you guys like and subscribe. Jalem's out.